the Hart band. Have you guys played at any festivals out there?
We have not. We're still pretty new. Everything music-wise kind of started building during the pandemic, so there wasn't too much opportunity for that. Now that things are opening back up, I'm looking for opportunities to tour and just perform at any festival I can get my hands on now.
This is Festival Pass Stories, a podcast series is told by the people who create and make festivals come to life. You will go behind the stage, kitchen, or studio door to hear the stories of passion and inspiration that started some of the world's most beloved festivals. Hear the startup stories and how an idea went from what if to what's next. All right, friends, this is Festival Pass Stories podcast, where we are produced by Jonah Wright and Challenger Road Media and presented by Dos Hombres, the artisanal mezcal meant to be shared. Created by Aaron Paul and Brian Cranston. Have a drink with us at doshombres.com/delivery. And ever wanted to have the opportunity to invest in a product early that could be the next Airbnb? I can see on the other side of this, he's going, tell me more. I'm intrigued. I want to hear it.
I would love to invest.
Well, indeed. We'll learn why entrepreneurs and celebrities like our guests, I should say, it's going to be here in a second, with exits approaching 10 billion, have already invested in Festival Pass. Go to invest.festivalpass.com to learn more. And now, festival friends, my guest today is the star of the Netflix show Greenhouse Academy on Netflix, of all places for a Netflix show to be seen on Netflix. He is also a singer, songwriter, and I'm just going to say this, I think his destiny to write love songs was sealed the day he was born. Wait for it. On Valentine's Day. It's a true story. It was meant to be. He can't wait to be introduced, so I'll give it up to him. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dallas Hart. Dallas, what's happening?
Hey, guys. How's it going? I mean, hey, you said I could host, right? I mean, I heard you say that, so I could be the host here.
Flip the tables. Start asking me the questions.
I don't have any questions prepared, but
I wasn't ready for this. You're putting me on the spot. This is not fair. I thought I agreed to do this. Why are you turning the tables on me here? But in that intro, I mentioned that you were born on Valentine's Day, and this isn't one of those Hollywood things where you just changed the birthday so it would just sound better for the story, right?
Oh, yes, definitely. Just changed my birth certificate around. The government loved it. But no, yeah, I was born on Valentine's Day. I was early. I was like 3 weeks early, and it was just kind of destiny, I guess, to be born on that day, and then grow up to be making love songs. It's not just love songs, but that is the primary thing. So I went with the name Hart for all the music.
All right. Hart. I was going to say, how did that happen that you're born on Valentine's Day? But you would have said, well, my mom and dad got together.
Yeah, there was this, when a mommy and a daddy really love each other.
I didn't know what kind of podcast this was, but if I'm pretty sure the audience, I think your viewers and listeners know how this happened.
I hope they know. Yeah, it's not the conversation to come from me.
So the last name is Hart, and that is the band's name is Hart, or was this something that a manager or agent came to you and said, look, we're doing a lot of love songs here. Let's just make the name of the band Hart, and we'll make your last name, your stage name, Hart.
Oh, yeah. So I just kind of was thinking about the best way to go about it. I could just go with my regular name, but I always wanted an opportunity to perform with a band. So I didn't want it just be like my name. And then, I just have like a background track or like one guitarist in the back. I really want it to be like a group thing. So when I have my band all together, we're known as Hart.
So yeah, instead of going with my name, known as Hart. The band is actually known as not like 70s rockin' chicks, but
right. I know, not some Barracuda stuff, but loved that song as a kid as well. So I think that did have some influence on it. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't just like my name. I'm not like the front man doing it. I want it to be a team effort, like a band thing. So I changed my name to Hart.
All right. So does the Hart band, if you guys played, this is Festival Pass Stories. So of course we have to talk about music festivals, our favorite kind of festivals. Have you guys played at any festivals out there?
We have not. We're still pretty new. everything music wise kind of started building during the pandemic. So there wasn't too much opportunity for that. Now that things are opening back up, I'm looking for opportunities to tour and just perform at any festival I can get my hands on now.
Now, if you had to choose a festival, because you are a singer songwriter, and there are festivals just for songwriters, if you had your choice of a festival to make the band's debut at, what would it be? And
I got a really soft spot in my heart for Coachella because I think that was one of the first festivals I went to. It's just local. It's close to me. I went with a couple friends at first. And I don't know. I think it would just be amazing to have the debut there. I have great stories connected to Coachella, and I think making a new one with the band would be amazing.
So music is one of your loves, but of course your other love is acting. And you essentially come out of the womb as the next great singer-songwriter with the name and all that. But shortly after, you find the acting bug. And I love this story. You were parroting Steve Irwin's Croc Hunter and I think you were 6 years old or so when you did this. So
yeah,
probably one of the first things you really remember seeing on TV was Croc Hunter. And you did something called, is it Frog Hunter? Is that correct?
Frog Hunter. Yep.
Were you running around the house doing lots of impersonations at this time? And then this one was like the dominant one?
I was doing a lot of impersonations. I just always had a passion for film, and I loved the show. I mean, it was heartbreaking when everything with Steve Irwin went down.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I decided I had like woods in my backyard. I grew up in Michigan, so I had a lot of wildlife and adventures in that backyard.
Yeah. You could have been a deer hunter, but that one was already
I could have been a deer hunter. Yes.
Yeah, that one was already taken.
That was gone. But yeah, there was this little like swamp area kind of, and there was just always a ton of frogs in there. And it was my passion to I would just catch them and then either return them, or I had a little pond that I made in front of my house where I would kind of like put them just to have a new habitat. So yeah, I was very much into all that stuff and decided to make it a show. And ever since then, I mean, I was making films for school projects instead of like posters for class. I would make a movie. And yeah,
they're like, we need you to make something in a shoebox here for a book report. Like, how about instead I give you a full feature length movie? And
exactly.
We can all watch it during assembly.
I'd be like, yeah, poster's great, but what about like this film, and I'll edit it, I'll take all the time, and they'd usually be into it. They'd usually be cool with it. So
yeah, they're like, okay, well, you're a little bit more advanced than our other students, so please don't embarrass the students or the teachers or the AV department, because they're already upset with you because you're doing this. So when you did the Croc Hunter, was it like your own version, or were you like, raw, yeah, Croc, man?
I was like, raw, yeah. Look at that one,
So you were full on Australian Michigander guy, and this was a whole new character. But if you're watching it, did you have the mannerisms down and everything else?
Oh yeah, I had the hat, had all the mannerisms, and of course the accent was super pivotal. That was the main character trait, I would say.
So how does a Michigan Australian accent sound exactly?
It's almost like, I don't even know, Canadian almost, I can't even replicate it anymore.
You finish everything off with a, like
with an A.
It's a croc, eh? It's a frog, eh?
It's a frog, eh?
Yeah. So it's like, there you go. It almost sounds like that's full on Australian, but even though the eh from Canada it kind of works well there with the Aussie accent.
It molds, it's very similar. Similarities there. A lot of similarities.
So how many episodes of the show did you do, or was it just like a one YouTube thing, and then all of a sudden someone's like, have you seen this kid? He can really act.
It was just like one feature film of it. I definitely embodied the character even off camera, though, I would say. Yeah, it was very, very method.
full on Michigan Australian, full method Stanislavski method. I think that is
yes,
right there.
Yes, that was me.
Yeah. But that was because of Stanislavski's Deli in Ann Arbor.
Exactly.
Yeah. was more of a Chicago accent, I think. But so
It works.
Yeah. And how did you get it out there? Was it out there was YouTube like a regular thing at this point, or was did people have to share it on email?
Yeah, I think YouTube was pretty new. I think it was honestly probably even MySpace at the time.
Oh,
might have been like MySpace, but it eventually moved its way to YouTube when that was more mainstream.
Yeah, they now call it MySpace because I'm the only person on it, so it's just quite literally
it's just MySpace. Yep,
I'm the only one left on there, and it's like
it's
so
you and Justin Timberlake, I think.
Yeah. You won't get canceled on MySpace because it's my only space. It's only MySpace.
Unless you cancel yourself, that's the only way.
Yeah, I'm like, can we just call it Pat Space at this point because I'm the only one on there. But does this like catapult you into the stratosphere for your next acting gig, or how did like that first one come about? Because you suddenly start doing a lot of TV. Yeah, and you will go from the small tube to the big screen as well. But you did a lot of guest appearances, one episode off here and there, and one of them was Front Seat Chronicles. Now, was that right there? Was that a direct hire from somebody who saw you as the Frog Hunter?
I can't even remember how I got cast for that. I think it was.
And was that the first gig, or am I wrong about that?
Yeah, I think that was definitely one of the first gigs. I can't remember if it was that or if it was the feature film that I did, but I think that was all just traditional casting process. I don't think I had a manager at the time, but I was just submitting myself and then just going into the room, doing the tape and booking the role from there.
You're like, okay, do you want me to be serious Midwestern kid, or do you want me to be Michigan, Australian
crocodile hunter,
frog hunter kid? I can do both. I can do this two ways, guys.
Exactly.
Tell me. They're like, just be yourself. I don't think the Michigan.
Okay, so Australian.
Because at this point, at this point, this is your personality, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then from there, the shows start to continue. You got appearances on shows like The Fosters. I remember that one. Just Us Guys and Two Healthy Chicks, I believe, is another show.
Yep.
But it was that kind of like, you get the one thing and you got something in the reel and then you put it out there and all of a sudden you got a little bit of this from this movie and then you got the show and then you're like, hey, this is me. And then they're like, oh, we need a guest. We need a person that fits this profile. And do you have a manager at this point?
I do have a manager at this point. Yep. And it's kind of a snowball effect a little bit. And it's definitely like someone from that set knows you and now they're on this set. And so it kind of helps there as well. And it all just leads up to the next project.
So then you get on a show. It's got a pretty big name, Rizzoli and Isles. One of the hottest shows on TV at the time. This wasn't like a pilot or a one-off or, hey, come read in for this. But this is pretty much at the height of its popularity. When you got that show, did you feel like, okay, this is now finally the break? This is on a totally different level.
Yeah, definitely. And that was a really fast casting process too. I think I went straight into the final audition where I was just there with all the producers and the director and everyone was just in the room. I just went straight into that. And then an hour later they called and said I got the role. So that was pretty cool.
You're like barely down the road. They're like, get back here. Well,
yeah, exactly. I'm walking out the door.
Yeah. Did we validate that kids parking? You're like 9 and driving. And how old were you when you got that show?
I think I was maybe 1920, somewhere around 1920.
And all of this kind of culminates into the big moment where it happens.
Yes.
Leo Cruz, the character Leo Cruz comes calling, and you get to bring not only the acting, but also the music into the acting. You bring those two loves together. Tell us more about this show, this character, and how this particular role came about on Netflix.
Yeah, definitely. It's actually a really cool story that connects to Coachella somehow.
All right. Bring it back. Bring it back to festivals. Always. We want to hear the story.
Yeah, I'm going to try to do this in a shorter amount of time because it is a bit of a long story. Basically,
I don't think we're on a time limit, so go for it.
Okay, cool. So I was at Coachella. It was the second weekend. I was actually working it as an Uber driver because I was,
because you're a hustler.
A little, I was hustling.
Actor, but
it was a little bit. Exactly. I was a little in between work at the time. And so I'd done it the previous year and made like $3,000 or $4,000 in one weekend. So I was like, I can't pass up that opportunity. So all my friends were actually at the festival. I was working it. I was
like
literally
bartending on 4th of July weekend.
I was like crashing. Exactly. I was crashing on the couch at like my friend's place because they were at the festival. So I would just crash on the couch and then I would just work for like 12 hours straight, pretty much.
The ultimate gig economy. You got the jobs here and there, and then you got, and then this.
Then I'm driving them around. Exactly. And, driving around drunk, intoxicated people the entire time.
Yeah. Can we play the radio? We want to play the radio.
You're like, can I put on a song?
That's me when I was just doing an impersonation of me when I get into the Uber at the end of the night. I'm like, let me sit front seat. I'm DJing. I got this.
You're asking about the guy's life story. He's just like,
yeah. Hey man, what's up?
But yeah, I was there for 3 days. It was the last day. I got a call from my manager. He says, I have an audition the next morning. And I'm all the way in Coachella. This is in LA. And I'm so tired. I just want to sleep. It's like I'm working until like 1. So I almost didn't even go back. I almost was just like, I'll just pass on this audition. It happens sometimes where it's just like, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And then I was like, you know what? I got to do it. Like, I got to go to this audition. So I'm like driving home, trying to memorize lines while I'm driving home. Literally have to stop at like 4 a.m. because I'm too tired to drive. I sleep for like an hour, get back up, go straight to the audition. And it's an audition where I have to literally sing and perform like two or three scenes. So after all, not sleeping, all that, I feel like I bombed the audition. And then it's not until a month later that I get a call and I'm going in for chemistry reads, which is like a huge thing where I'm like working with other actors. My manager calls. He's like, hey man, how would you like to go to Israel? And I was like, Israel? And I was like, oh yeah, audition for the show.
I can't go. That sounds great, but I'm trying to work here. No.
I'm trying to Uber.
Yeah.
And so,
Ubering in Tel Aviv.
Exactly. You want this great gig in Tel Aviv?
Just open the app in Tel Aviv and you can work there while you're there.
But yeah, I go into the audition. It's 3 days of auditioning. So I start with like it was the longest process I've ever been in. There's like 50 other guys there for the same role as me. I was like, oh, I get it. This is why I'm here. Yeah. They're just calling in everybody. But I get down to the last day. It's just me and a couple other guys.
Was it like an elimination pool? Like they had like a March Madness bracket outside? And
I don't even know.
Like Dallas Hart's in the Sweet 16. You're like, yes.
Yeah, they got the leaderboard up on the wall.
Yeah. Ryan Seacrest is out there on the hallway like, well, we're down to the final 8 and Dallas Hart's looking pretty good. I've got Dallas right here. Dallas.
Here he comes in. Hey, how's it going?
You think you'll beat Leo?
Yeah, I think I have a pretty good chance here, Ryan. I think that things are looking pretty good.
You went full like Canadian Michigan. You had like a hockey interview. You're like, well,
and they loved it.
We played well there. We did good on the face-offs and
it goes,
pretty well. And let's just hope for the best,
But yeah, I've never had so many people. It was crazy. I went into the room and they had literal bleacher seats for how many people were in there. There was like probably 30 or 40 people watching me while I'm auditioning with like this other actor.
Holy cow.
And it was 3 days. I get down to the last day. I know I've never seen that again in my life. I don't know why there were so many people in there, but I was like, oh, okay. So it was like doing a play for like this big role. But it's the third day.
Where is this audition? This is California?
Yeah, it's in California.
Is it LA?
Right in Hollywood. Okay. Was the audition space. Yeah. You've heard of Hollywood? Yeah, it's a nice,
good place to do.
It's a nice spot. But yeah, I do my last audition with this actress, and I leave the room, and one of the casting directors pulls me aside and says, "Hey, like, we're going to bring you back in like an hour. So like, go grab some lunch and like come back in an hour. We're going to have you read again." I was like, okay.
Don't eat any
like
carbs though.
10th time reading.
We need you to look lean.
Yeah, no carbs, keep it skinny. So I went to the sushi spot that I like, and I grabbed literally, I couldn't eat because I was too nervous. Yeah. I got like one thing, barely ate it. And then I was like, I thought to myself, I was like, if I book this, then I can be, helping this waiter out a lot if I just give him like a really big tip for this small item.
Yeah.
So I gave like a $50 tip on this one piece of sushi. And I was just like, I just walked out, went back to the audition. I was like, if I don't get it, it's just $50. If I do get it, then, it's something that I can definitely just give to that person and feel good about.
Yeah. And you're living the Uber baller life at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I just got my big Uber check.
Yeah.
And so
haircut money for you.
Exactly. So I go back, I'm sitting in the waiting room with like 9 other people, and they're all looking around. They're like, "What role did you go out for?" He's like, "Oh, I went out for Daniel." I'm like, "Oh, what role did you go out for?" He's like, "I went for Alex." And I was like, "Oh, wow, I'm Leo." I was like, "I don't think there's any other Leos here." And we all look around and we're like, "I think this is the cast." So like, I think this is it.
Oh my God.
And
That's
then
crazy.
they come out, they're like, "Hey guys, we're going to have you come in." They like bring all of us in. We're all just like, "Oh, okay. Like, are we just going to do like this weird audition with like all of us?" And we walk in and all our headshots are on the wall and it says, "Welcome to the greenhouse." And so they announced it right there in front of us, which never happens. They usually like call the agent and they call us, and it's up on the wall and everyone starts clapping. We're all just like hugging and we're like, "We're going to Israel." I think they filmed it too, but it was an amazing moment.
So that's how it happened. So that you thought you had one more audition to go,
right?
Playing this mind game with you, like just hanging out.
Yeah.
And maybe they even had 1 or 2 other people they were considering, but they were like, "What is the best way that we can just cut these guys out and just bring these 4 back and have this super surprise moment?"
Yep.
You said they filmed it. So did they use that as like a social media thing to like launch the show?
Yeah, I don't think they even ever posted. I think it was just kind of, I'm sure I have it somewhere in my files, but I think they just had it for, us to remember the moment by.
So you did 4 seasons of Greenhouse Academy and the world comes to a screeching halt. What was that like? Because this was like essentially the dream moment for you. You're like, I can Uber only now once a month instead of 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
But it all, for everybody, we all had our moment. And, for me, it was, I do live events, live auctions. And I want to talk about your philanthropy right after this because it kind of rolls right into that. But what was that like? Was it a phone call or was it a Zoom? They had everybody on and they said, "Sorry guys, we're going to have to halt production for 18 months." And then nothing happens.
Yeah. I was just having a talk. I still am in communication with the creator of the show. We really just bonded and were able to connect over the love of creating. And he's like a super genius. He's like the Einstein of film, I would say. The way his mind works, he creates a show like every day, basically in his head. And he's so known in Tel Aviv that like if he says like he wants to make something, everyone's just there to do it like instantly. So I was talking with him and he said everything was looking good. The numbers were great. But, everything with the pandemic was just bringing it down. So he was going to see what he could do. But yeah, it lasted too long. There's too much pause in between. And I think it was Netflix's decision to kind of just like end it. He definitely wanted to continue and do the last 2 seasons. But Netflix was just moving on to other things because of everything that happened. And so it's disappointing, but you move forward and you just look for the next thing after that.
Right. And that's what happens with a lot of these shows, right? It's like the momentum. It's like the next episode. Even if I could binge a whole season right away, I want more immediately. I mean, I may know that if I don't pace myself, that I still will have to wait a year for this anyway. But
yeah.
It happened with a lot of regular TV shows, like something like a Mad Men, or even Even Entourage. I remember it's like Entourage like took forever to come back with like that last season, whatever. And I was like, and like the last season came on, and I was like, I think I'm just kind of done. Just
Yeah,
they lost
exactly.
and it stinks for the show because it's like there were some negotiations, whatever. The show was too popular and things happened. But with Mad Men, they were like they waited forever for the last season, and then they split it like into 2 mini seasons, and you're almost like.
Yep.
By the end of it, you're like, I have to, I'm invested in this thing and I got to watch the end of it.
Got to see the finish. Yeah.
When it was over, you were like, that's amazing. I'm glad that's the last show. And actually in Mad Men, in the last show, Don Draper goes to this, he's meditating and he comes up with this idea of this utopian world where for Coca-Cola, and he comes up with one of his greatest ad slogans ever, with everybody in a field singing, I'd like to buy the world a Coke. And it was this, this sort of utopian fantasy of everybody getting together, and Coca-Cola is the thing that brings us all together.
Yes, it is.
So then you create the You and I project, which is, if I have this correct, to unite the world in song, which kind of sounds like this idea for I'd like to buy the world a Coke. A bit utopian, but how, where, two questions here. One, why did you start this and who is it to benefit? And then two, how do you unite the world by song? This is the big question.
Yeah. So I had the idea during the pandemic to kind of help bring people together while they were unable to get together. So I wanted to create a song where, my fans and anybody else that was interested could join in on this song that I made, and use the profits to feed the children. So I have this big chorus where it's easy to do kind of, it's called gang vocals, where you can kind of just like throw in as many voices as you want. It's not really going to affect the song, and it just sounds like a chant basically. So I had a segment in the song that people could send their voice into and kind of just be added into that song and just be kind of hopefully part of history someday if I get enough people to join.
Did you kind of kick this off through Instagram or YouTube or something? How did you get it going?
So I started working with a studio to make the song. I actually worked with one of the producers from Bethel Music. And so the song is now finished. I'm just working on adding voices and kind of getting the social reach out there, and hopefully, my cats are fighting in the background.
The cats. Oh my God. Multiple cats. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a cat fight quite literally.
I know. We got two of them. I know. Oh, hey guys, relax. I'm in the middle of a story here.
This is what happens though, right? It's like the animals know. They know that you're recording something, and they're like, what's he doing? Let's get in on that. That looks like fun.
Yeah. Yeah, every time it's a wonderful thing. The structure of the song, everything is complete. It's just now adding the voices, and that's going to take time, and I'm giving it the time that it needs to accumulate voices that I'm going to be adding to it. And then I want to have like a good marketing strategy for it, so I can get the word out and can actually be beneficial to feed the children.
With a frog, you said multiple voices. So is Frog Hunter going to make a return?
Frog Hunter's definitely, yes, definitely going to be in there, hidden in the chant.
And this is the sort of user generated content. So you're putting it out there, and you're asking people to sing a couple of bars.
Yep.
Throw it in, and you will like combine all those voices together.
Yes. Yeah, it's kind of just like layers. They're just going to be layered in there, mixed into the song. It's going to sound like a festival audience, like when the singer asks them to chant the song. It's going to sound like that. Yeah.
When Bono has them like say something about no more war or something like that. Yours is you're like you're pulling a Bono here, but
yes, exactly.
Putting your own spin on it. I like it.
Yeah.
But speaking of music, you also just put out your own EP. Somebody once said.
Yes.
And that is going to be on streaming platforms and digital music stores, or it already is out there?
Yes, it's out there now.
Right.
Actually, I released just today, I guess, technically, another single as well.
And what's that one called?
It's called Reflections.
How do we find these songs?
You can find these songs any streaming platform. It's on YouTube. It's on Amazon Music, Spotify, Apple Music.
Now, on top of the music and the Netflix show and everything else going on, this busy guy's music life also has some acting and directing going on as well. And you currently have 2 other projects. I mean, are you Ubering in your sleep as well? Because I mean, I don't know how you have time to do all of these different things at once.
It's just lack of sleep, I think, is the answer there. Lack of sleep gets things done for sure. But yeah, no, I got into producing during the pandemic, which was insane. It was just by chance, knowing the right people. I got a call from a producer friend of mine, and she said, "Hey, like, I'm trying to get some influencers for this film idea that I have. I'm wondering if you want to be involved." And so, I was there from the beginning stages. I started writing the project. I wrote for like 2 months with the director, and then I casted it. I casted a lot of it. Yes, you'll see some familiar faces from Greenhouse in there, as well as some other influencers and actors. And yeah, we filmed last October, and it's probably looking like an end of 2022 release right now. The film is completed editing wise, besides I think they're finishing up some music and some special effects stuff. And yeah, I'm really excited about it. It was a crazy experience. I mean, we had all the COVID protocols there while we were there, and it was like testing every 2 or 3 days, added like $30,000-$40,000 to the budget because of it. But we were all just on one location and just living there. So no one was leaving. No one was going anywhere. We just stayed there for like a month and filmed the movie.
You set up your own little village right there. You guys had your own convenience store.
It was our own little bubble.
Yeah. Own little like NBA bubble kind of thing. And what was the name of that project?
That one's called Amp House.
Amp House. Okay. And then I also understand that you've got something in development called A Fine Line. And this is a music-centric indie film.
Yeah, I've been writing that one for a little bit. Now that I've produced this first feature, I'm definitely working on, making my next project. I'm kind of waiting for things COVID-wise to wind down, because that was crazy production-wise. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't even believe we made it through that. But as soon as that winds down, I have the people in place to get these films up and running. And yeah, it follows both my passion of acting and music. And I'm very excited my favorite thing in the industry is just to share stories. Yeah. So I'm very excited to bring a story that I've made to life.
And this story is essentially a musician who has a tragedy happen in his life and his family, and is able to move on from that.
Yes.
Or how he moves on, he or she moves on from that.
How he moves on and how music helps him move on from that tragedy. Yeah.
And is this something that's reflective? Is this sort of semi-autobiography, or is this?
No, I mean, there's small elements from real life in there, but for the most part, it's definitely not too based on real life reality.
You also have a kid show that you're working on called Outer Space High. What is what is this? This is chronicling the antics of some crazy young kids. Are they actors, or what's the story with that?
Yeah, I don't want to get too much into it, because that's definitely my baby in the writing department. But essentially, it's going to follow the lives of the extras on a kids show. And so I saw how it's so funny how different the extras are treated on set than the main actors. And, I was on a kids show. Greenhouse was essentially, for like younger teens and stuff. And we had extras there that were always there. And through the entire process, but they were always not treated as well as the lead cast. So I wanted to kind of follow the lives of what it looks like to be an extra in film. And I think it's a completely like, it's laughed about sometimes, like in the industry, at least. I'm not sure how much the real world knows what happens with extras on set, but they have like their own little like seating area. They get like different food. They get just like, I don't know, treated completely differently. And I kind of just want to follow that life on set.
I have been an extra in a few shows, non-speaking extra. And then you watch the show and you're like, I know this is the episode. I was there for like 15 hours. How am I not in this? Come on.
You're there for 15 hours. You're probably in front of the camera, maybe 1 hour at the time, or it's like the back of your head or something.
Walking in the back. And as I was saying, as an auctioneer, I work with all these different nonprofits, and every once in a while we'll get that kind of thing for an auction prize where it's be an extra in this super hot show, and people bidding thousands and thousands of dollars.
Oh,
and then they're like, I was an extra in the show, and I said, how was the experience? They're like, it was really exciting getting there, and then. I got there at like 6, like the call time was like 6:30, I think. And then they told us what to wear. And then they, at about 8 a.m., a costume person comes by. And then at about 10 a.m., somebody comes by and says, okay, you, and you. And then I'm just still sitting there. And then at about like 1 p.m., we break for lunch. And I was like, see, nothing beforehand? No.
Yeah.
And what was lunch?
Yeah.
They're like, well, there was craft services, but then there was like a table for us to eat. Like we went over to craft services. They're like extras that's over there.
Yep.
And
it's wild.
I was like, oh, well, at least the charity made a lot of money off that. Don't you feel good about that? Yeah. And they're like, I just wouldn't do it again, And I'm like, I get it. Somebody one time, they're like, yeah, we went and, can I have my money back because they brought in all the extras and they never used us. So they said, we have enough extras for today. And they sent us home. And I said, and I went up to the person, like the, assistant to the assistant or whoever is the person who has to come over and tell the extras to head out, to go home. And I said, I was part of this charity and I paid for this. And they're like, we don't know anything about that. I don't tell you.
You're like, okay, extra.
Yeah. Oh, I like.
Oh man.
So extras pulling rank. This is rich. This is going to go into the book. Okay. Right. And,
man.
But it is, and I've done it myself voluntarily, not even paid. Like I, saw something on Backstage. I was like, oh, this is a great show, and mind being, and you're just like background like party person. You're just like
got a solo cup, and you're just like mouthing words.
And that's that doesn't come across well in a podcast. People were like, I think we just lost the podcast there, but it was pretty much no speaking lines. My mouth moved, so I'm like, can I get a union card because my mouth moved? And they're like, that's not how it works.
I was definitely whispering some words back there. You can't hear them, but it's crazy.
But that's where people start. I was doing it for fun. I had no desire to be a serious actor for a career, but it was something I wanted to do. And there's people that this is, and I'm like, I can't keep coming on these extra things because I'm taking somebody else's extra role away who seriously wants to do this for a career. So I didn't do it. After 1 or 2 or 73 times, I finally decided after, once or twice, I was like, that's it. I'm not going to be doing that again. Well, look, we're going to be keeping an eye out for those big projects that you have here. And I would say, what's next for you, as people do, but you got a lot going on. I mean, some people during the pandemic just watched Tiger King and put on 25 pounds.
I did both of those things still too.
You still, somehow
I managed to watch that and still gain weight as well. So
yeah, friends, look, he's the actors, the celebrities, they are also just like us. They are mortals, just like us. Hard to believe.
We are mortal.
Yeah. it was irresistible, right? The Tiger thing.
Oh man,
Tiger
yeah.
King. Well, it's both right. Tiger King and Tiger Thing, because that's what it turned into.
Yes.
The thing.
Oh
And
man.
I was like, this is stupid. I'm not going to get into this. And I was probably the millionth or 30 millionth person to watch it. And I just was like, the
Same.
characters, right, were irresistible.
It was, and so many twists and turns. You were just like,
Yeah.
is murder on the table now? Like,
Yeah. Where are we now? And there's no extras in that. No extras in that show. Those are just
extras.
real.
Yep.
That's real documentary.
real
People. Hard to believe, but yes, real people. And this
Wow.
is what they do with their lives. How can folks find you? How can our festival friends find you and follow you on all of the social media outlets out there? There's a zillion of them. And I don't mean MySpace, because you don't have to give me that handle, but everything
I
else.
wouldn't even know.
Where yeah, exactly. Like, there is but how can we find you and keep up with all the different elements of your career?
Yeah, so socials are all Dow Rules, DALLRULZ. Made it when I was a kid, and I'm stuck with it now. But it works. I love it.
Yeah. I would have been a visionary if I said, well, I'm going to make a social media handle for myself when I was a kid.
Oh,
People be like,
no.
what's social media? You'll find out one day. It'll ruin your grandkids' lives.
Yes, it will. So yeah, and then for music, it's Hart, Hart, and yeah, I think that's pretty much the main ones.
Incredible. Well, look, thanks for spending so much time. And friends, don't ever say the Festival Pass Stories didn't have Hart, because we did. We just did. Right there.
That was good.
We
That was
had
good.
Dallas Hart. Yes. The one Hart pun perhaps he has not heard yet. But
Never.
Dallas, thanks a lot. And we will see everybody next time on Festival Pass Stories. Dallas Hart.
Thank you, Pat.
This is Festival Pass Stories, a podcast series is told by the people who create and make festivals come to life. You will go behind the stage, kitchen, or studio door to hear the stories of passion and inspiration that started some of the world's most beloved festivals. Hear the startup stories and how an idea went from what if to what's next.